With snow on the ground in New Hampshire, it's not a bad time to do some maintenance on my riding trolleys. These are the two of my ride-on trolleys for my 5-inch gauge garden railway. They're made out of marine plywood, they're gondola shape. Sit on the top here, I have a seat which slots in here. Sit on there, feet on the running boards here. Just made out of wood. A little bit of trim on the sides here for making them look a little bit more railway-like. The top one is a trailing trolley. The bottom one here is a driving trolley. That means that it has a brake here. It has a little shoe here for a speedo and miles. It has a auxiliary water tank and a place to put a coal supply here for the steam engine. So I sit on here and I drive the steam engine. Here's how the water supply works. You can see on the end here the connection for the water feed to the locomotive through the flexible hose, and that attaches on to the rear end of the steam engine with this pipe here that goes through to this injector here. A water valve here which is controlled in the cab. Here, that's the water valve, and that is the steam valve there for the injector, which is right there. The other injector on the other side, which you can see here. You can see it just there, it's not very well lit, is for the water tanks. It's fed off the water tanks. Problem is that gets very hot, so that injector will not pick up once the water tanks are hot. Whereas this injector with the cold water supply from the driving trolley will keep going all the way through the run. I have a problem with the brakes. I always have a problem with the brakes on this one. They get broken. And I'll show you. So I'm replacing the brakes, and I'll show you what that means. Let's take a look at the underneath of this here. What we have here is a bogie, which is a bought bogie from Scale Railroad Supplies. And it's primarily made out of a zinc die casting. I replaced the wheels on it because die cast wheels don't run too well on my steel rail. And the brake gear is modified for 5-inch gauge because these bogies are primarily for 4 3/4 inch gauge. What that meant is that there's a weak spot. Every time it derails, this gets banged and this potentially breaks here. So that the whole of the brake beam starts to do this, and the brakes become ineffective. This is the mechanism for controlling the brakes, pulling the brakes on and off. It is compensated so the trucks can go round the curves without the brakes binding. And when you pull on the lever, the pressure on each truck compensates, so you're getting a similar pressure on all 8 wheels, which is kind of cool. The trailing passenger trolley has a similar truck. As you can see here, it's cleaned up quite nicely. I skimmed the wheels because they were quite worn, but this doesn't have any brakes on it. Because I've got a lot of gradients on my railway coming back down the hill, if I've got full boiler pressure, I can brake the train. If I have more passengers on and slightly less than full boiler pressure, my steam engine hasn't got enough braking power. I need to use the bogie, the driving trolley, and the brakes on the bogies to slow me down. The trailing trolley bogies are less worn, so I'm fitting new brakes to them and swapping them out with the driving trolley ones. has a really quite nice center bearing here. It's a roller bearing. Makes it very free and easy. You see how dirty these bogies get in normal wear and tear. That's the bogie out, and you can see here that I'd had to put a reinforcing piece in, because for some reason on these latter bogies they didn't want to put a cross section in here, said it wasn't worth it. But I found the actual side frames of the bogies broke out against the quite soft zinc side plates, so I had to put these brass reinforcements in. So I'm going to take this bogie apart. I'll show you how I do it. You can see the cross sections bent down. That's again due to derailments. This bogie doesn't have brakes on it, but I'm going to put brakes on it and replace it onto the driving trolley from the towing trolley, the towed trolley. Okay, now what's really cool is the way these bogies are held together. All I need to do is to push this piece down here, prise it out a little bit. This is the spring collection. On one side there are 5 springs on each side. And you ease a sort of spring package out, and as you see here, I'll pull in focus a bit, it's like a package of springs, and there are 5 springs in there, and you can alter the strength of the springs depending on how much weight the bogie is likely to be handling. For instance, I have 4 outer lighter springs and 1 heavy center spring. These are going to go into the degreaser. I'll get the one out the other side. Try not to let it spring out. And you can see that the top of the package has got a square, slightly raised piece here, and that sits in a square on the cross shaft. The bottom piece has these ridges in it which set into a ridged bottom part, so the whole thing holds together in the frames and doesn't actually spring out, which is kind of cool. Okay, take the side bolsters off. These sides are zinc castings, very cool, rather nice shape. The wheels, the bearing retainers on the wheels here are free-floating needle roller bearings. When I made these wheels, I made them so that one side rotates free of the other side. The one side is connected to the axle. The other side's got an oilite bearing in it there, which is free running on the axle. Because I have lots of curves on my railway track, it actually prevents wear on the tyres of the wheels, and at the same time helps out the track and the train resistance as it goes around the corners, because one wheel rotates faster than the other one, depending on whether it's on the inside or the outside of the curve. Here's the other wheel, same thing, nice and greasy, and give that a clean up, put that into the wash, and then we got the main cross beam like so. Has 2 pads on either side and a center bearing, and that's the other casting on the other side, the other zinc casting. Okay, get some of this into the wash.